Stress is one of those things that I think we're all going to go through. One of the things that's really important when we think about stress is, or when we say, what is stress? Stress is our body's natural response to anything that takes it out of its norm. So one thing that we can really be assured of when we're talking about stress and what makes us have stress is change. When our body or we go through changes, our body's naturally going to go through a stress response. So one thing that we can be assured of is that anything in life is going to create change. And if change produces a stress response, then the other thing that we can be assured of is that in life, at times, there will be stress. As a matter of fact, I'll take it one step further and I'll say that in life is stress. Now, stressors don't necessarily have to be all bad. Of course, we know that stressors can be good and they can be bad. And we actually need some stress in our life to help us grow and adapt and be able to do the things that we're supposed to do. But when those stressors are unchecked for a long period of time, that's when we run into trouble. So the question that I wanted to answer, or the question that I want everybody to actually ponder, is this one fundamental question. We all know the things that we should do to help manage our stress. We are all very familiar with those things. Practicing mindfulness, getting away, having some me time. But have you ever stopped to consider if when we are taken out of our norm, if that creates stress, then what is your norm? What is your normal? Knowing that normal is going to be different for each one of us and each of us is going to manage stress differently, what is your norm? And the only way that you're really going to be able to figure that out is to be able to master and practice the fundamental principle of self-awareness. When you go through stress and you're under any period that takes you out of your norm, we know that it can create the stress response. Now, our bodies don't necessarily recognize a good stressor from a bad stressor. It's going to release that stress response and that cascade of hormones no matter what. In the short term, the stress response is actually very good for you. But in the long term, that's where we're concerned with it. In the long term, when our cortisol levels begin to raise and we begin to undergo chronic stressors, that's where we're going to end up having issues. And so it's very important to make sure that we are aware of what we're going through, aware of what is our norm, and know when your body's being taken out of its norm so you can manage your stress. Now, when we talk about self-awareness, let's talk about the importance of self-awareness. Why is it important that we are self-aware, and how is it fundamental to being able to manage our stress? Self-awareness is a key mind-body skill. It is something that we have to do to make sure that we can act in a way that's going to help us make the decisions that are going to be beneficial to us. One would think that being self-aware is a natural thing, that we're all just kind of self-aware of who we are. We really don't think about it much. But in actuality, self-awareness is something that requires intentional thought as well as practice. Because if you are not self-aware of your actions and your thoughts, and you act outside of that, if your actions and thoughts are outside of your self-awareness, then your thoughts and your actions are really controlling you. You're not controlling them, and that can be detrimental to you. The other thing that's important as it relates to self-awareness is really understanding what components are you looking at when you're talking about self-awareness. So first, we talked about what is your norm? What is normal for you? Recognizing that it's different for everybody. But self-awareness is also understanding what are your innate feelings? What are your desires? What are your urges? And how do those feelings, desires, and urges cause you to act or make decisions? When you understand that in self-awareness, then you'll understand the choices that you're making and be able to truly figure out and understand how those choices can lead to situations that are either going to help your stress or hurt it and cause you to have more stress in the end. When we're thinking about in self-awareness and recognizing that it is important to be self-aware to help us be able to make better choices, the next logical question is, okay, how do I become more self-aware? I know it's important, but what can I do to become more self-aware? Well, there's 4 fundamental things I would recommend. One is the power of the pause. When you go through a situation, before you react to that situation, just pause. It is that pause that is going to be valuable and so instrumental to help you make the appropriate decision. When you pause, evaluate, how are you feeling? What emotions are you having? Get to a place of understanding what your body's doing. What is your body feeling? Are you tense? Is your jaw clenched? Are you feeling certain emotions like anger or overwhelm or whatever the case may be? The second thing is to name it. Name that emotion. Understand exactly what that emotion is, because the important thing is once you understand what that emotion is, it'll help you be more clear of what that emotion is going to make you do and how it will make you react. The goal is to respond and not to react. Responding will help us deal with the situation in a much more productive way. Often when we react based off of our feelings. But as I said before, if your thoughts and feelings are operating outside of self-awareness, then they are in control and you're not, and that's what gets us into trouble. The next thing is to then evaluate it based on the evidence. What you're feeling based on what the evidence actually is. And when you evaluate what you're feeling based on what you're actually able to put evidence to and to see, it'll help you realize, are my feelings rational or irrational? Is what I'm feeling justified? Or is it possible that I'm allowing myself to actually overthink or over-evaluate something, which could actually be very detrimental? Once you do that, you're going well beyond the ability to become self-aware, and you're getting more self-aware, and then you'll be able to make a choice based on that. The choice may be to take some extra time to think about it, or the choice may be to make a response based on what you're seeing. But when you respond and not react, that will not only help your stress level, but at times it may help you to avoid unwanted stressors in the first place. In understanding the ability to become more self-aware, recognize this: in the beginning, it may be difficult and it may take a little time. And I know you may be saying to yourself, okay, sometimes I don't have an opportunity to take that pause and to just react. But when we practice this and we become more intentional at it, just like anything else we practice, it becomes something that becomes more innate to who we are. As we raise our level of emotional intelligence and our emotional quotient, we will become stronger at being able to do this. And this will ultimately be something that you can do in just a matter of seconds. But in the end, when you are self-aware and you respond and not react, you are actually going to be helping yourself get to the more desirable outcome. As osteopathic physicians, one of the things that is really important for us to remember is that what occurs in our thoughts and in our minds doesn't just affect us mentally, but it affects us spiritually and physically. We believe in the biopsychosocial model of medicine. And so we know that when it comes to true health, healthy living is much more than just physical. It's emotional, it's spiritual, and it's mental. So it's very important for us to take care of our mental health just as much as our physical health. And in the process of taking care of our patients, we can't forget about our most important asset, and that is ourselves. So when we're talking about managing stress, self-awareness is key. And self-awareness will actually help us to make choices that are not going to just help us lower our stress, but improve our overall health in the end.